Mike DeMar, you're a biologist working for the LCO Community College. You've got a project going with the Pine Marten. Tell us about this project and why it's important.
Uh, right now, we're working with our partners, uh, Purdue University and the Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission. At Purdue, it's Dr. Pat Zollner, and at Glyphwick is Dr. John Gilbert that are working with us. One of the things I think that we have identified anyway here at the college is important. Uh, I think I had mentioned to you earlier, but there's another thing that I just thought of that we mentioned at the end of another talk that I had with those two. The experience for the students, I think, is very important. That stands out almost at the front. That students from the community college here are gaining some experience out in the field, being able to partake in research that they would not be able to do otherwise. This opportunity that's provided by the collaboration that we have going gives them some really valuable experience that they would not have at any other type of community college that I know of. That's kind of a special thing since we are a tribal community college. We have access to this type of research and allow students to partake in it. One of the other things I think that's important with this particular project is the exercise of tribal sovereignty. Being able to uh, do this research in the Schwamigan National Forest is an exercise of the tribe's sovereignty, or is an expression of that tribal sovereignty. Um, One of the others would be going out and having the ability to hunt and fish in that national forest. Well, likewise, going out and being able to conduct research as a tribal nation in the Schwamigan is also an exercise of our sovereignty. So that's a very important thing for the tribe.
What's interesting about the Pine Marten? Why are you intrigued by it? What kind of satisfaction do you get out of this work?
Well, personally, I'm intrigued because they had been extirpated from the state. I think that somewhere in the 1920s, the Pine Marten was listed as no longer being present in the state. I like the idea that one more cog in the wheel of a good ecosystem is being tried to be reintroduced or brought back into the picture. Um, Others are probably more capable of explaining the significance of the marten other than me. But I think that it's a pretty significant thing. One of the things with when you get like a real cuddly, furry creature that someone can identify with, is that you're bringing more attention to something, right? To the whatever it is that you're striving to do. And here I think getting some functioning uh, ecosystems back, or getting some functionality back out of these forested habitat areas, as far as their ability to function as an ecosystem. That by having some species like pine marten that some people can identify with out there in the front, we're drawing more attention to it. Well, is that the only player in the game of that functioning ecosystem? No, not really. There's a lot of other smaller players, and part of what we're doing is looking at those other players. And that'd be where my area of interest is, with the small mammals that are running around in that forested habitat that the marten might be preying on. I have an interest in those animals. I certainly have an interest in pine marten, but that's not my area, and that wouldn't be my area in this research either. We're kind of on a side looking at the marten. Part of the work is kind of three phases to the work that's going on. One of them is small mammal trapping, looking at the pine marten prey base. That's kind of indirectly involving the pine marten. We're not out there trapping pine marten, we're out there trapping the things that they're going to be eating within that habitat. The other thing that we're looking at on each of the research sites is the forested habitat. We're looking at a lot of habitat variables within that forested system there. We're looking at standing dead trees, fallen dead trees, or ground cover, coarse woody debris that's laying around on the ground. Also looking at some of the woody plants that might be coming back up on the forest floor there. So identifying, doing counts of the number of woody plants coming back up, looking at what tree species are there, what the which ones are more dominant in that particular area. So it would be, tree species identification, and just kind of getting a picture of what that little small area of habitat's like. What tree species are there, what small mammals are running around there. Then also within that research plot, we're going to look at Pine Marten usage of the habitat, and that's what is getting ready to be underway right now. Right, we're setting up to go out and put out some camera trap stations, as they're called. Right, it's just essentially a game trail camera, and we'll have a station of four cameras pointed at some bait, and that bait would be like a beaver, right? Beaver or some kind of a scent, or they have commercial scent lures out there for trapping mustelids or mustelids, the weasels, and Pine Marten are in that group. So there is some commercial scent lures out there, but I think for starters we're just going to be using beaver. We're going to stake out some beaver and point some cameras at it on the habitat areas that we've started to look at, just to see what type of marten usage of the habitat there is right now. And that will begin on this Saturday. We've done some test plots already, but for the research we begin on Saturday for that.
This is Nick Vanderpye with Mike DeMar talking about Pine Marten at the LCO Community College for LCOTV.com.